Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Well, tonight, local, county, and state officials zero in on recent COVID-19 outbreaks here in south central Montana. As Montana enters the phase 2 plan of reopening, we see a spike in new coronavirus cases in Yellowstone and Bighorn counties. Over the past week, 40 new cases of COVID-19 have been identified here in Montana. Of those cases, 22 in Bighorn County and 12 in Yellowstone County. Governor Steve Bullock today focused on the 2 separate cluster cases tied to these spikes. The Yellowstone cluster has been linked to the Yellowstone County Jail. Now, both cluster cases are still under investigation, but the state has been able to link all of the cases to an origin. Community spread, where an origin cannot be determined, has yet to be documented in Montana. Bullock says at this time he is not considering going back to phase 1 for the state, but notes that local county officials can increase restrictions if they feel it necessary.
I want to underscore that for every positive case we have right now in Montana, there's not one case in Montana where we haven't been able to identify exactly where that positive transmission came from.
And State Medical Officer Dr. Greg Holzman says the state is actively looking at ways to limit any spread from tourists. But fortunately, tourists who come to Montana tend to spend the majority of their time outdoors or with their own family units. Well, the cluster at the Yellowstone County Detention Center is so far 8 female inmates and 1 jail staff member. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder and other county officials addressed the issue late this afternoon. Q2's Russ Riesinger was there and joins us now with more. Russ.
Well, Sheriff Linder says over the past couple of months, the jail has been closely following CDC guidelines to keep inmates safe. That includes isolating, screening, and cleaning. Despite that, an inmate tested positive on May 24th and was hospitalized. They then tested another 34 inmates in that unit, as well as 41 staff members. That's where those other positives came from. None was showing any symptoms of the disease. Now, the close quarters of a facility like a jail make it the perfect environment for a virus like COVID-19 to spread, but the sheriff says they have done everything possible to keep that from happening.
In the meantime, we'll continue doing what we're doing, the cleaning, the sanitizing. We're able to provide some isolation simply because of the new women's unit down there that we just recently built. Had we been in the old facility, we probably would have been in a much different circumstance, unable to isolate or quarantine anybody. But because of the 5 separate pods that we have down there, we are able to do that. So
we continue to work with the jail for contact tracing and to identify people who could potentially be exposed, and if needed, get more individuals tested.
For the most part, most of the people in there are in there because they need to be in there. And I think if there's any challenge to that, it's business as usual. Motions can be filed, and they can get their bond reduced. They can be released on their own recognizance. We do that constantly on a constant weekly, daily basis.
County Attorney Scott Twido saying they will deal with any legal challenges if and when they come. The other 28 inmates who tested negative are still being quarantined and monitored for any signs of COVID-19. Jeanelle?
All right, Russ, thank you so much. And this evening, Bighorn County health authorities confirm another positive case. That result from the first positive from last week's surveillance testing on the Crow Reservation or in Hardin. Now, this case is in addition to 4 cases announced this morning across the state. Yellowstone County now has reached a total of 100 cases. In Wyoming, the state's total confirmed cases reaches 700. A 17th person died from the coronavirus, a woman without any known conditions that would have put her at a higher risk. Well, tonight a Billings woman can finally get some closure and plan her late husband's memorial after he died in March of COVID-19. This after his remains got lost in the U.S. mail. Well, since we first aired this story last week, both of Montana's U.S. senators stepped in, and the remains were located over the weekend in the back corner of a Chicago mailroom. Today, Q2's Andrea Lutz was there as that delivery finally made it home.
Waiting is something Christine Tyler has been doing for weeks.
It's been a long road, and I'm at the end of the road.
Each day waiting for the mail to come so closure can arrive. On March 19th, her husband Don died in Spain from COVID-19.
Hey, Christine. Finally here.
Since she's been waiting for his remains to come home.
So sorry this is late.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
But for 2 months, the package was lost in the mail.
It's been a long time.
Yes. Thank you.
You.
Thank you. He's here.
Christine's waiting
He's finally here.
is finally over.
Because this shouldn't happen, no matter who they are. It should go from hand to hand to hand to door.
But as she unwrapped the contents, Don's urn was badly broken.
It's in pieces.
At least she says he's home and there's no more waiting.
Maybe I can eat. Maybe I can sleep. Maybe I can start figuring out what my new normal is.
But she wants to make sure no one has to wait like she did.
I don't know. I'm not one to just zip it. I'm not. They don't know me. They don't. You know, I'm at the end of the road, and hopefully I can fix something, change something, do something. Everybody can help us get that home.
In Billings, Andrea
And she
Lutz,
said, Mom, they wouldn't have
MTN
done it if they
News.
didn't want to.
Thanks so much, Andrea. Now, Christine Tyler is planning a July 31st memorial for her husband, Don, one with military honors. Don served in the Air Force in Vietnam and then served as a federal police officer. Well, Montana's first all-mail-in election is proving popular among voters. In fact, a record turnout is already in the books here in Yellowstone County and a statewide as well, with still one more day left. Now, here in Billings, as of this morning, 48,000 ballots had been mailed back to the county elections office. That breaks the previous record by some 5,000 ballots and continues to grow. Statewide, more than 312,000 ballots have been mailed back. Elections Administrator Brett Rutherford tells us there's been a steady stream of people dropping off ballots all day. Now, for voters who have yet to turn in their ballot, you can do so in person tomorrow at one of the 4 ballot drop sites across the county from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Those sites include the County Elections Office on the first floor of the courthouse in downtown Billings, the Metro Park Box Office, Yellowstone Valley Electric Co-op in Huntley, and Laurel High School. Again, the deadline to get your ballot turned in is 8 p.m. tomorrow. Well, Montana is now officially in phase 2 of the reopening process. Starting today, the 14-day quarantine for travelers coming into the state is lifted. Some tourists already taking advantage by heading to Yellowstone National Park this morning. And all across the state, gatherings can increase to 50 people, and bars and restaurants will operate at 75% of their capacities. In Billings, the city parks are also loosening restrictions, opening up playgrounds and sports courts. While social distancing is still recommended, kids can once again grab the monkey bars or go down the slide. The usual summer camp offerings are also in full swing, but will begin at 75% capacity. For those looking to take a swim, South and Rose Park pools will open Wednesday, and the wading pools at Pioneer and Hawthorne parks will open June 8th. Unfortunately, for fans of the Billings Spray Parks, not quite yet.
The recommendations we've gotten to this point from the Yellowstone County Health Department is that the spray grounds would be a phase 3 opening. So again, whenever the governor hopefully announces a phase 3 opening, the spray grounds would open at that time.
Now, for more information about the opening guidelines for city parks, visit billingsparks.org. Well, it was 2 months late, but 90 minutes early as tourists entered the west entrance of Yellowstone National Park today. The Wyoming gates previously opened on May 18th, but today the 3 Montana gates opened. That entry was scheduled at 10 o'clock this morning, but park officials bumped it up and held the first official opening for the 2020 season at 8:30. Well, as the gates in Gardner opened this morning, people from across the country were lined up. As MTN's Nick Petriccioni shows us, the day couldn't come soon enough for the local community.
After about 2 months, the gates here in Gardner to Yellowstone National Park have finally opened. This morning, there was a line of cars eagerly waiting to get inside, and that is big for local business owners who rely on that tourism to stay afloat.
This place, usually by now, we are bustling with people, and there's nobody. So we need customers. There is no local traffic here. We were looking at an entire season where we wouldn't have any business at all, and that definitely would hurt.
Businesses are eager to get the season started, like Chloe Chase, who just today opened Scoop There It Is. Here she is serving her first ever customers.
It's been really hard around here. We've had a pretty big hit, and it's going to be really great for our community to have people coming back and feeding into our economy.
Those tourists are already making their way into Gardner, like the Green family, who is visiting from Seattle. They have been waiting all spring to come to the park for opening day.
I came for the first time when I was his age, so it's so fun to be able to come back and show my kids.
Safe to say everyone in the town of Gardner and tourists are excited that the gates have finally opened. And the nice weather doesn't hurt either. In Gardner, Nick Petriccioni, MTN News.
All right, thanks so much, Nick. Ahead on tonight's 5:30 News, the aftermath of the death of George Floyd rages on. Montana's congressional delegation weighs in on moving forward. And in sports, Scott has reaction on opening weekend for baseball Scarlets and Royals.
And coming up in weather, we do see some showers moving into western Montana. The big question is, will those showers come here to the Billings area? We'll tell you what the computers say coming up in a few more minutes.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.